Delaware again. Last time I was here with Ed, we were roving around on picket lines, right, Ed? So, for Verizon. So, a lot of people were on those lines that are in the room tonight, right?
Yep.
We're thinking about those lines as we get ready for June 22nd, right?
Yep.
But let me first say that this local is awesome. You just heard that Rafael Navarre was here. That's not a big deal, except why did he come to this local? Because I'm going to come back to this, but this fight around fast track and TPP, this is one of the key congressional districts out of 435 in the country. And this local, both of our locals here in Delaware, greetings to Diana as well, I see you back there. And it's great that everybody's here together. But these locals, Delaware is the front line. Kearney is one of 10 swing Democratic votes. But the activity of these locals, of what you're doing in Delaware now, is probably at its highest point of energy ever. And that's a credit to Jim, this board, both local leaders, and to this district. And Ed Mooney and I both believe in the same things, that the front lines are the local unions. The front lines are the shop stewards, what I call the stewards' army, that we've built up as a stewards' army over these 10 years and even before. And the rest of us, whether it's Mike Davis, who's here somewhere, the rep who often works with you, there he is, blended in with those shirts over there, Mike, who, by the way, grew up in North Philly, not South Philly. Everybody's not from South Philly. I'm proud to be from North Philly, and that'll remain that way. But I like the South Philly brothers and sisters that are here as well. But we believe it doesn't matter what we are, president of the union, vice president, staff rep, our job is to, these officers, support shop stewards. Shop stewards is how we mobilize our members. That's how we win, whether it's a contract, it could be at the wastewater plant, it could be the state police or dispatchers, it could be at Avaya where they've shredded our bargaining unit, but you're still there, brother. Yeah, Martin, it doesn't matter where we are. It's all about the shop steward and the confidence the steward has among the members. And that is really what we've been preaching for 20 years. Ideally, we want to have a steward or a mobilizer at least for every no more than 20 members so that we can actually mobilize our members in the ways you're talking about. And we use things, whether it's a website or texting or whatever, that's a little tool. The key is the shop steward, and to keep ourselves focused on that. No matter who we are, that's really our job. And I know so many of you are stewards, and that's really what this is all about. I also meant to say that many of you know there was Jim's father passed, and I texted him. I didn't know until Saturday that, I'll come back another time, even if I'm not the president at that moment. He said, no, my job is to go on. And he's quite something, and I think we all love him, and we should appreciate him. So. I think many of you know that his father was also active CWA, as I learned tonight, in the West Philly garage. And I heard, Mooney, you actually worked under him? Good. Unbelievable. And you survived. Yeah. Okay, and look at what you are now. So his father's responsible for Mooney and Ryan. There we go. Mostly Ryan, but we don't have to. Anyway, that's enough on that. But I know this is also a time when everybody in Delaware is grieving on Beau Biden's death and horrible disease after an amazing life. And so my heart goes out to all of you. I know the vice president a little bit, and can only imagine one more time how he feels and what he's going through. But anyway, this is going to be informal. There's 2 or 3 things I want to talk about, really 2. One is about bargaining, and if we can indulge ourselves here, this Verizon bargaining looms large, regardless of what bargaining unit you're in. It is a $150 million company. These companies, today we started bargaining with General Electric, where we're the main union. They've shredded the union, not as bad as Avaya over the years, but still 10,000 people there out of 20,000 that are union. We've recently had major bargaining at AT&T. In the next week or so, across the Delaware Memorial Bridge, we start bargaining with one of the worst governors in the country, Chris Christie, for 40,000 state workers. We're bargaining right now at American Airlines for customer service. It's airlines, but it's quite similar. A lot of the jobs are call center jobs or airport jobs. 15,000 people there in the first contract fight. It took them 20 years to organize. 20 years. our lead organizer. She's now the organizing director. When that started, soon after it started, she had a kid, and the kid's now in college. And the women and men in that unit are awesome. But anyway, and from District 213, the chair of the committee is Marge Kruger, who Ed said, fine, Marge can do this. And, you know, she hasn't been in the district as much. This bargaining's now in the 8th month, but that's 15,000 people. At United Airlines, bargaining for 21,000 flight attendants. We have bargaining going on now at NBC, where we represent the technicians. The Washington Post, where the new owner is the owner of Amazon. And Jeff Bezos, the multi-billionaire, believes that, oh, people don't need a pension who work for the Washington Post. So, so this Verizon bargaining that so many in this room are a part of, almost everybody in the room, really, whether you're customer service or plan or network support or system tech, whatever job you're in, comes in the middle of what we've called a turning point year. So, you know, 2015, when our board met last November, our slogan was, it's our turn. And I know Jim's been using that here. And that's what we need to be loud and clear on, whether it's Chris Christie or Lowell McAdam, whether it's Jeff Smizek at United Airlines or today at GE. That we've had years and years, right? Stock market goes up and wages are flat. That red book in the back, I'm not going through it all, no worries. This will be informal, but I do use that a lot. It has a chart in it showing wages, real wages after inflation, flat for 30 years in this country. And meanwhile, stock market with a couple of zigs, but, you know, going like this, and the billionaire class rising. And so we had, you know, the whole phrase about, you know, we are the 99%. And that's not just a slogan. This is really the reality. And so, as we've said to Lowell McAdam and the top management of Verizon, it's our turn. We're not repeating what happened last time when they came with, I don't know, Ed, 150 or 200 demands. Basically strip out everything of meaning in the contract, you know, like redact it, like put a, you know, a line through it. And that this time we expect that we're going to bargain forward. Our number one demand is jobs. And Mooney has been great on articulating this throughout this district, from Virginia, rural, urban, right up I-95. Okay, Verizon, if we don't build out Fios in a real way, and Delaware is a prime example of this, we're not going to have jobs here. Because the cable companies may not be great, but they got higher speed internet. And without high speed internet at a decent price, we're not going to be around. And we're going to fight for our future. We're going to fight for those jobs. And a key demand, it may not be a traditional demand, is that we want Fios up and down the state, right through Delaware, and that without that, we know our jobs are in jeopardy. So that demand for Fios right through Delaware, just as Mooney's been saying, Pennsylvania, all these states, as well as in District 1 up in New York, where we have Fios partly built out in New York City, and most of the rest of the state, nothing in Binghamton, nothing in Buffalo, nothing in Boston further north. Nothing in Baltimore to the south. So that's really a key demand in that bargaining. And then, obviously, that we don't see that sort of leveling of wages because the healthcare demands from the company knock out a big chunk of the wage increase. That if we can take any sort of heart from the recent AT&T bargaining, we just bargained for about 15,000 people in the Midwest in AT&T, the Great Lakes states, and another 4,000 what's called Legacy T, the old long distance part of the company, mostly call center workers now. And again, one doesn't lead to the other, but the pay raise was 8.4% over 3 years, and the healthcare cost shifting was relatively minimal. And so on the average, as I told Jim coming over here, the average member, that includes customer service, everybody rolled into one, ends up with an annual raise of $4,000 after paying any additional health care costs. That's $4,000 a year starting in year 3, but then that goes forward. Well, that's a significant raise when inflation is close to zero. It's as close to zero right now as it ever gets. So when we think about Verizon, we're not thinking about going back. We're thinking about fighting forward. That it is in fact our turn, and that this company just announced they're going to spend $4.5 billion to buy AOL. If they can spend $4.5 billion in a venture that's way off to the side of where their supposed core is, then we should be able to negotiate for investment in Fios. and they claim that's there. Investment in FiOS and investment in us, and that we can go back to every one of our families and say we're going to be at least somewhat better off at the end of this contract when we were at the beginning. So, Jim, I'm going to ask your members, are we prepared to stand up for that every day through the summer until we are successful at that goal? Are we ready to fight? So, that is the main thing on our minds of the members here. But this is also a critical time in terms of this trade fight, and I was so encouraged to learn what you're doing here in Delaware. And as I mentioned a couple of minutes ago, so out of 435 members in the House of Representatives, right at this minute, there's 188 Democrats. At least 150 are going to vote no, despite a Democratic president bringing this forward. And I'm happy we're going to have a conversation about any of these things. You can talk more about why is that happening with President Obama. But the fact is, it is happening, and the fact is, as Jim said, number one, every call center job is in jeopardy with these trade deals. Every call center job. We already have, Verizon has as many call center jobs now contracted out or out of the country as they have in. And, you know, right, Diana, what did our membership used to be in that unit? Now it's about 200?
It's less than that.
Yeah, it's less than that. Well, where did the jobs go? They went to the Philippines as the #1 place. We're not against the Philippines. Call center work for customers in the Philippines, that should be in the Philippines. But call center work for customers in Delaware, that should be in Delaware. Call center work for customers in the United States, that should be in the United States. And even some of the tech jobs can be moved outside the country. Testing lines, maintenance administrators, you know, dispatch, as long as the people speak English, they can move the jobs. And that's really what is at stake for us. These trade deals obliterate what's called nation of origin, where the so-called Buy America provisions, even in the public sector, get wiped out. So the dispatch jobs we have, even in the public sector, are vulnerable. I'm not saying that's going to happen right away, but other public sector jobs have already been outsourced, call center type jobs. And you know, why would we want to spend U.S. stimulus dollars and not be able to ensure made in America products, whether it's steel or whether it's a call center job or whether it's anything else, service sector or manufacturing? All of that is on the line. And again, I'm not going to, I know probably too much about this, glad to answer questions, but this is a very good brochure in terms of our pamphlet in terms of what's going on with us, what's at stake. And it's not just our jobs, it's also our pay. One of the major reasons that our pay has been held down is the export of all these jobs out of the country, because it has a multiplier effect. Number one, if you're in a tradable job, like a call center job, that's a tradable job, because it can be done here, it can be outsourced somewhere else in the U.S., or it can be offshored somewhere else where it's even cheaper. And in places like the Philippines and Vietnam, Vietnam is the main problem in the Trans-Pacific Partnership. The wages are under $1 an hour. I don't care how productive you are here. We're not going to compete. We can't compete. We shouldn't have to compete with pay like that, where people have no rights. There's basically no regulation. They call it a command economy. And it's 90 million people in Vietnam. This is no small country. So, and then the Philippines, where a lot of our call center jobs are, they're not in TPP yet. But one of the provisions of the Trans-Pacific Partnership, TPP, is that any country in that region can dock on it, meaning they can say after we sign it, oh, we want to be part of that. All they have to do is approve it, and they're part of it too. And the Philippines are absolutely going to do that if this thing gets passed. So we come back to Delaware. One member of Congress here, Carney. First name is? John. And he is, as I said, one of 10 Democrats in the whole country on the fence. You have 150 Democrats that are voting no out of 188. You have maybe there's 15 on the fence, and about 18 that are voting the wrong way. So this all-out push that you see so many folks from these locals pushing on and asking for handwritten letters. And tomorrow, not tomorrow, Wednesday is National Call-In Day. We expect 1 million calls across the country from this giant coalition that we're building into their members of Congress on that one day. And so we really want every steward to say to every member on break, here's the call. And we have the phone numbers there. And, excuse me, fighting a cold a little bit. Oh, great, water. I should have brought that up myself. Thank you. So that's every member, every steward, all of our retirees. How many are here who are retirees? Okay, great. This is something where you guys can pitch in because you have everything at stake as well. In fact, the way they're paying for part of the what's called trade adjustment assistance, which is a good thing, except we don't want to have the wreckage of the excuse me, of the jobs. We want to have the jobs. The way they're paying for it is to cut Medicare. The version of this bill that the Senate passed will actually take almost $1 billion from Medicare to pay for job retraining, when in fact what we should do is not have the TPP so we don't lose the jobs, so we don't have to pay for the job retraining, and more importantly, it should be hands-off Medicare. It's one of the things that works in our government. So many reasons why retirees should be in this fight, and I'm sure I don't, excuse me again, I don't have to tell anybody in this room how that's connected. We can come back to that if that's useful. But in any case, where we stand then is that there's 50 to 60 Republicans voting no. So we need to get somewhere around 217 or 218 votes. And most of those no votes we're going to get from the Democrats, 150 minimum. We think we can get it up to about 165. But the other 50 or so votes we need will have to come from the Republicans. Now, you only have Carney, one member of Congress. He's a Democrat. I'm not going to go into all the rest of it. But there's at least 50 to 60 Republicans that are likely to vote no. We put that together and we can stop this. And that's really where we are now. We're sort of out of time. It's this week and next week. If Boehner, the Speaker of the House, thinks he has the votes, he's putting it up for a vote next week. So this is nothing we can wait on. And that's why, we're really focused on that as much as we are here at this meeting tonight. And again, this local really going all out on this. And I'm sure most people in this room have already done something on this, right? Put your hand up if you've done anything on TPP or fast track. Yeah, almost everybody. So the few who haven't, we're after you guys to join in. I haven't really met anyone in our union, retired or active, that's on the other side of this. Doesn't matter if they normally vote for Republican, independent, normally vote for a Democrat, working people. This is the biggest unifier we've ever had. So for the first time, as Jim said, 10 years I've been president. Before that, executive vice president, goes on and on. But never have I seen this kind of unity among labor. It's building trades, it's public sector, it's industrial, it's service sector. It's every single union has written to the president and Congress and said, every single union is opposed to fast track. And for now, we haven't been able to read it, but from what we know of it, opposed to the Trans-Pacific Partnership. And for anyone here who doesn't know this, and probably almost everybody does, fast track is a huge problem, because if fast track is adopted before people have been able to read, including members of Congress, the TPP itself, what it means is that the TPP itself, when they finally let people read it, it's guaranteed a vote within a matter of months, 3 months, and normally in Congress you can't get them to vote on anything. It takes years. Look at our whole agenda that never got through, right? That's a long list. It's listed in that red booklet. Bill after bill never got to the Senate, never got through, never got a vote, never got even talked about. This is guaranteed in like 3 months. The 1,200 pages has to get a vote, yes or no, including in the Senate, where they're famous for not letting things vote. You need 60 votes out of 100 normally in the Senate just to put it on the floor for a vote. In this case, not. It's guaranteed a vote. And then it's a yes-no vote. No amendment. Nothing can be challenged. It's yes or no. And so that way raises up the chance that this TPP goes through. And our big message right now is, Mr. President, and he invited me, quote, into his Oval Office, 1 hour, me and the Teamster president. I don't know how we got paired together, probably because of the way we speak. But, no, I'm kidding about that. But, supposedly to discuss this. As I joked with him at the time, I said, it's not really funny. I grew up in North Philadelphia in a house with 5 adults. Great-grandmother owned the house. Great-grandmother, grandmother, mother, father, mother, stepbrother. Once in a while I got to speak, and they never did a single thing I wanted. I said, Mr. President, this has been exactly like that, not only with this hour with you, but the 2 years with your U.S. trade representative. Yeah, we got to show up, I got to see him, I got to speak, and for all of labor, all the environment, all the consumer groups, nothing has changed. And that's why we're voting, that's why we're asking members of Congress to vote no. But in any case, the way we stop this is stopping fast track. The odds of us winning on Trans-Pacific Partnership itself if we don't stop fast track, are very bad. It doesn't mean we won't fight, we will. But the odds go way down of winning because it's a yes-no vote. There's basically no debate. And there's a very short time frame. And what we're really saying to members of Congress like Carney is 90%, if not 99% of TPP is done. And we will be wrapping the AFL-CIO building tomorrow, literally wrapping it, with a message around that theme, wrapping the entire building and saying, and then we'll be marching, it's only 4 blocks, to the U.S. Trade Representative's office across from the White House and be saying to him, if this is so great, let us see it. If this is so great, why do you need fast track? If this is done already, which it clearly is, take it up. Why is it? It shouldn't be a national security document. This is a trade agreement. And the corporate lobby, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, they've written most of the chapters, so they know what's in it. We want to see it. We want it debated. We don't need fast track. We want to put the brakes on it. We want to see it. And we are tired of being told that our cities and our families and our brothers and sisters and their jobs and our wages are being held hostage to your view or your predecessor's view or the president before that, Democrat or Republican, of foreign policy interests and of corporate interests at the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. It's our turn. And we expect trade deals like in every other country to benefit working families in this country. Not just your view that it will help bring other countries closer to us. That's a soundbite. It'll bring Vietnam closer to us instead of China. What, at the expense of the rest of our cities where the factories close and the call centers close and we can't get a raise because they threaten to move the jobs somewhere else so our wages are held down? We're fed up with trade deals like that. We're fed up, we're standing up, we're fighting back, and that's what John Carney needs to hear, loud and clear in the next 2 weeks. And I think people in this room are ready to deliver that message, right?
Yeah.
So let me stop there and let's open it up here. You have amazing activists here. We have Ed Mooney here who wants to be in the back of the room, but he is an amazing brother. And we can talk about Verizon. We can talk about bargaining. We can talk about bargaining as a whole. What just went down with AT&T, part of AT&T. We can talk about, if nothing else, we should talk about what you think we can do to move Carney in the next 2 weeks.